Hey, welcome to another radio video, and this is another video in a series of videos on radio listening, my personal picks hour by hour of what is interesting, mostly aimed at North America and Europe listeners, but of course it can apply to a lot of different territories around the world also, depending on the stations that I choose. So it's 2000 hours UTC, that's 4 p.m. We're getting at late evening here in Montreal. That's interesting. Late afternoon, sorry. Late afternoon is when everything starts to get pretty much interesting on shortwave here. Propagation with European stations and to the east is getting good and interesting. So at 2000 hours UTC, that's 4 p.m. Montreal time, what's interesting to listen to? One of my picks, probably one of my personal picks, and it's pretty much what I do usually when propagation is good enough. BBC on 15400 from the Ascension Island. This is for North America, often a good, especially the East Coast, a good choice. It usually comes in quite well. What you see here is probably the worst that it can get. So today is not the best of times, but it's still very listenable. So BBC in English, 15400, you'll be having a full hour, and I believe this is news hour at 2000, if I'm not mistaken. Well, and if it's not, well, at least it's 1 hour of BBC, interesting programming. BBC is one of my favorite stations to listen to. So 15400, it's should be good in North America. Probably can be interesting also in Europe. It's a transmission that is, I believe, for West Africa or something like that. So that's an interesting listening. 20 to 2030, another station that might be interesting. It depends on propagation. Vatican Radio 13765 should be a interesting listening to the eastern part of North America. 11625 also. Both frequencies coming in here in the eastern part of North America. And this is towards Africa, so Europe could be in for some listening also. So Vatican Radio 20-20-30 English. If we look at other stations, if you're in Europe, Radio Romania French on 11975. And even here, eastern part, North America, it's good signal. So 11975 French for Radio Romania. There's Adventist World Radio, that's also there on 11830. This is not a good one here in North America, but it's French and it's from transmitted from the France transmitter site, so it could be in for a broadcast. There's also 9610 for North Africa from Germany. China Radio International towards East Africa from Mali on 11640. Could be interesting catch for Europe, and 13630. So Europe could be in for an interesting listening of English from China Radio from 20 to 21. If we look at what else is there, there's Deutsche Welle 12070. Is usually an okay signal in the eastern part of North America. They are broadcasting in English for 1 hour from on 11800, 11865 and 12070. All frequencies are from the Rwanda, the Kigali relay. If you're in Europe or Africa, there's the BBC World Service that's on 12095. In Europe, there's Indonesia 9525 French at this time. That could be an interesting catch, but this is a more difficult catch very often. And this is a European service, so Voice of Indonesia 20 to 21 in French. That could be quite interesting. Of course, if you're in Africa and maybe Europe, KBS World Radio has a 1 hour French 5950. And to Europe, French on North Korea, Voice of Korea on 13.760 and 15.245. This is for Europe. 20 to 2100 also if you're in Europe. Voice of Nigeria 7255. Still a little early here in North America to get Voice of Nigeria. In the winter time it's a possibility, but not in the summer. So these are interesting stations. 20 to 2200, one of the interesting stations here is Radio Belarus, English, 2 hours of English. 7255, so that might block Nigeria possibility because it's the same frequency. And 11730 also available. 11730 is known to make it into North America at times, so it's something to try for, especially in the eastern part of North America. So that could be quite interesting. So you also have a 20 to 2200 possibility of China radio on 7415, 9600, Western Europe on 5960 and 7285. So 4 frequencies for China Radio International here. Something to try for. Really interesting program listing there. Of course, you also have Kuwait still broadcasting until 2100, which is really strong in North America, and probably a good catch in Europe also. So these are all the stations that you can listen to at this time. It's 2000 hours UTC. My favorite, of course, would be to try for BBC first. 15400, because I want to have some interesting listening. If propagation's not that great, one of the nice stations I'd listen to is Deutsche Welle 12070. That's usually a good catch also here in North America. Eva Muller, an expert on food security from UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. In Europe, I'd probably try Belarus. Let's see if you can hear it well. That would be an interesting catch for 2000 hours. What should we be about the world's food security situation? A question I put to Eva Muller, FAO Director for Economic Policy and Products. One area that has hope this little video helped you in making a choice of station to listen to. If you have your personal favorite, or maybe a station I didn't mention here, but that comes in well in Europe, anywhere in the world you're located, and you want to share it with us, let us know. Give us your comments of what you would be listening to at 2000 hours UTC, if you had a choice of listening. So that's really kind of my personal picks. Not being in Europe, one thing that is I'm not sure is, of course, what stations come in and what stations don't come in there. I know here, Eastern North America, Eastern part of North America usually. So hope you enjoyed this series of videos, and that you be tuning in and looking at the other videos I'll be making at different times a day with what I would choose as my personal picks of shortwave stations to hear and listen to. So thanks for watching, and good radio listening, guys. 73.